Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Harakakadash. God want us, the apostles and elders, great millstone and rule well. Shalom to the brothers doing the work of sincerity and truth. Yeah. Got this article here on AFP going into the it's kind of comparing the situation in what you got going on in Ukraine with Taiwan. Because obviously Russia and China, those two have been allies for the longest, and they're two of the key players that are basically gonna, result in America, getting washed out, America getting played, and they're gonna be key to the destruction of America, which you're seeing play out with Russia doing their invasion of Ukraine. Them basically bolstering themselves, to be staunchly against, America and their allies, the EU and NATO. And China's been doing the same for a minute, and see it picking up. And with how the situation in Ukraine goes, that's kind of what people are forecasting for Taiwan, because it's a similar kind of situation where Russia sees Ukraine as part of Russia. Same with Taiwan. China sees Taiwan as as part of China. So it says China will not hesitate to start war over Taiwan. Beijing tells US, which anyone kind of paying attention, that's been evident for a while, because they've been doing drills on taking an island. They've been maneuvering ships in and around the area, Air Force as well. They're looking to get in, and whilst the main thing that kind of showed America slipping is when they fucked off out of Afghanistan and just left it to whatever, but essentially leaving it like they were never there in the first place. And given all the bad press they got with that, people ain't really going to be looking, as willing to kind of back a war, because they're going to be like, well, you just wasted a fucking bunch of 10 years or some shit in fucking Afghanistan to achieve nothing, and how many thousands of soldiers died and whatnot. So yeah. So it says Beijing will not hesitate to start a war if Taiwan declares independence. China's defense minister warned his US counterpart Friday, the latest salvo between the superpowers over the island. The warning from Wang Fenghe came as he held his first face-to-face meeting with US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin on the sidelines of the Shangri-La Dialogue Security Summit in Singapore. Beijing views democratic self-ruled Taiwan as its territory and has vowed to one day seize the island by force if necessary, and US-China tensions over the issue have soared in recent months. Wei warned Austin that if anyone dares to split Taiwan from China, the Chinese army will definitely not hesitate to start a war no matter the cost. And yeah, China's also been prepping for war, because with one of the main things now is because the whole situation with between Russia and Ukraine and China going to war is planned, because these men have been stockpiling food to an absurd level. I think for the last few years they're buying up maybe 60% of the grain that's been in the market for the last little while, and I think they have stockpiles that can last a year and a half. Meanwhile, most other people, their grain stockpiles are a few months at most, because there's been shortages. Because why? Because China's been buying up a shitload of it. So, just as now you have the issue with fuel, and China's not going to give a fuck about US sanctions against Russia, because as far as for Russia, Chinese business interests in these things, America's interwoven, so they can't go to the same extent that they're doing with Russia, to where they'll just cut everything off. And even then, it's a lot of EU countries, even with the sanctions, they're still getting a Russian gas, Russian oil. Because why? Because how the fuck are they gonna get from anywhere else? Russia's a stone's throw from them. But meanwhile, the alternative, of the US, of somewhere in the Middle East or something, is completely unrealistic. So these things are going to it's going to build up those tensions between what America and the EU, the other parts, because America's interests now are not aligning with the EU interests when it comes to Russia. So it says the Chinese minister vowed that Beijing will smash to smithereens any Taiwan independence plot and resolutely uphold the unification of the motherland. And you saw what they did with Hong Kong. They went in and deaded that, and it's like everyone was like, oh, free Hong Kong, blah blah blah. That shit got assimilated, man. That dream died. and the US couldn't, they ain't gonna go out there and start a fucking full scale war just for Hong Kong, especially when the British already gave Hong Kong back to China. Like, the shit was done. According to the Chinese Defense Ministry, he stressed that Taiwan is China's Taiwan. Using Taiwan to contain China will never prevail, the ministry said. Austin reaffirmed the importance of peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait, opposition to unilateral changes to the status quo, and called on China to refrain from further destabilizing actions towards Taiwan, which they're going to ignore and continue to do. Because it's with Hong Kong, I think it was they switched the leadership, or they got a leader in that essentially handed over Hong Kong to China and was letting them execute Chinese policies in Hong Kong, and then it was a wrap. The riot police went out and started smashing everyone's heads in, and and Hong Kong ceased to be, and no one did shit, because to do something, it's going to be peak. It's going to be you're going to a full-scale war. Tensions over China have escalated, in particular due to increasing Chinese aircraft incursions into the island's air defense identification zone. US President Joe Biden, during a visit to Japan last month, appeared to break decades of US policy when, in response to a question, he said Washington would defend Taiwan militarily if it is attacked by China, which we'll wait and see. Very well could happen. The White House has since insisted its policy of strategic ambiguity over whether or not would intervene has not changed. Yeah, it's why it's a we'll see. Talk all the good talk. He's going to take his marching orders. Biden, I mean. So it says, with concerns mounting over China-Taiwan tensions, Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida issued a stark warning at the summit: Ukraine today may be East Asia tomorrow. Yeah. That's because China can just look to consolidate and get everything, bring all the all the lands back together. So I said the world must be prepared for the emergence of an entity that tramples on the peace and security of other countries by force or threat without honouring the rules, he said. He did not mention China by name in his address, but called for the rules-based international order to be upheld. But yeah, and you've seen, just like with happened with Russia when it came to Ukraine, they've constantly had the propaganda mill running, because both sides, China, America, just like Russia and America, are basically looking to present themselves in the best light. So when it comes to war, they got everyone ready to go and blow off everyone else's heads. But hey, that's what's building up the further tensions. That's the thing, is this is not something that's going to go out, with fizzle. It's going to go out with a bang. Because just like Ukraine, now they had this week saying Russia's got 20% of Ukraine's land, and everyone's saying like, yeah, it ain't looking like it's going to be a short war. Looking like it's going to go on for a minute. Which, yeah, straight up, I won't be surprised. because Russia's in for the long haul, and Ukraine is basically needing suppliers to have any chance to do anything. So, Joel 3:9, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Be your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Most High. So yeah, all these nations are basically being built up to where what? Now they have strength, now they have capabilities. The main thing is what? Is nuclear capabilities. That's the main thing that's been the equalizer for all these different nations. Because even India, Pakistan, you go back like to World War II, you go back into the 20s, the 30s, a lot of these places were not any kind of significant global powerhouse. But now what? They've had the peak of military capabilities, which is what? The nuclear missiles. They've had access to that, and they've been able to build up their economies and whatnot, to where they're trying to maneuver in the same realms that Esau, the means that Esau used to get himself up, they're now on the same path. So these guys are all looking, and now America's looking like prey. Because why? They realize it's been in the rulership seat, and they're looking like, okay, now there's a chance, there's some contention there, to where they can build themselves up and take the top spot. That's why everyone's talking about what? China being the next, ruling power over the earth. But hey, Esau ain't gonna go down without ain't gonna go down without a fight. But hey, it's all through his spirit. Psalms 10 and 2, it says, the wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor. Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined. Yeah, these elites are basically looking to set up a kingdom of heaven for themselves. They're looking to have their rule never end. That's what they're fomenting all these things for. They're building up these wars. They're creating a crisis where they have what? The charagma, the mark, as that solution. And that's the key thing they're looking at, to be like, okay, yeah, this is how we're gonna get the power, essentially become like the Most High and have ultimate power over everyone. That's what they desire. That's what their aims are for. But it says what? For the wicked boasteth of his heart's desire, and blesseth the covetous, whom the Most High abhorreth. The wicked, through the pride of his countenance, will not seek after the Most High. The Most High is not in all his faults. His ways are always grievous. Thy judgments are far above his sight. As for his enemies, he puffeth at them. He hath said in his heart, I shall not be moved. I shall never be in adversity. And that's really the mindset of these elites of pushing out through the West. They're really thinking all their plans, all their desires, as far as what they're looking to accomplish, are going to be achieved with no hiccups, with no aversion to the plan. But as it says in Job 20, it's like when he's about to fill his belly, that's when the Most High is going to pour his wrath upon him, because he's gonna get certain things in, just like with a mark. That mark is getting pushed out steadily. You can see, as far as the monetary system, that's been cracking. You have gas, as they call it in America, petrol, going up to like $5 a gallon, which is the crisis point. In the UK, they were talking about how it's like $100 to fill up. $100, fucking hell. £100 to fill up a family car, and that's everyone's now in a state of crisis over these numbers. They're all bugging. So it's looking like what? Recession. And you had what's her name? Was it Yellen? I think the head of the Fed, I believe, say that, oh yeah, it doesn't look like there's going to be a recession anytime soon, which is like, That's complete insanity. But it's why? To catch the people's unawares. So that when a crisis comes, they're looking to the elites, they're looking to the leaders for that support. Even now, with all this fluff in the UK they've got going on with Boris Johnson, this is the same guy that they're saying, oh, you're saying this, is doing that, blah blah blah, this partying, whatever. This is the same guy that was in charge during C19, and it had and everyone was looking just like, just say what we need to hear. They also, when it comes to a point of crisis, even if they hated him, they didn't vote for this guy. They'll still just look into him for what? To find out what they need to do to survive, man. Same thing's gonna happen. Once the heat turns up again, it's over. Let me get this. Isaiah 14:11 says, "What thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vile." Oh wait. Let me start from 9. So it says, "Hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. If raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations, all they shall speak and say unto thee, Art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us?" Yeah, so these heathen are now seeing, the flaws, the chinks in the armor. They're seeing the cellulite on the leg. They're seeing that all the shine, all the so-called glory that was meant to have been upon America is now that's started to dim. So then what? They're seeing like, oh, we can step up, man. We can be the ones in that position. And they're looking to get on levels. So it says, "Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vials. The worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of the Most High. I will sit also upon the mountain of congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High." Which, that's what he's trying to do the whole time he's been in rulership. He's been trying to maneuver like he's a god on the earth. And that's the awe that people have been witnessing, especially the American system. The American system has been deified. People look at it as like the path to immortality, man. To come up in America, make money, and get on levels. But in reality, what? It's now been revealed. America's, a defiled shithole. It's on its way out, and the whole time it's actually been, it's not been as great. That the shit that is America doesn't smell like roses. And that's why what people are critiquing more and more constantly, that what America is what do you call it, the shining beacon of the world. Now they're looking at like what? It's corrupt, it's defiled, and it needs to get put down. And that's it. All these nations are gonna come against it. It says what? They'll hate the horn, burn it with fire. See, I'll leave it there. Shalom. Shalom.